This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. What would you do if your loved one wasn't actually buried in the spot where their grave was? That's what happened to a woman who was searching for her father's remains here in Winnipeg. She wanted to have the grave relocated, but when the site was excavated, she was told her father wasn't there. CBC's Mike Arsenault has the details.
I'm devastated.
Elizabeth Patrick had a plan. She wanted to move her father's grave from Greenacre Cemetery in Winnipeg to Woodland Cemetery in Ontario. Elizabeth's from England. She was estranged from her father, and after years of searching, she found his gravesite. But when the site was excavated, she received shocking news.
And he said, "I'm sorry to tell you this." He said, "And I don't know how to tell you." But he said, "Your father's not in the grave."
Elizabeth's father, Gordon Patrick, was a glider pilot in World War II. He died in Winnipeg in 1973. With no family in Canada, he was buried without a headstone. Elizabeth wanted to move her father's grave next to her late son, Patrick Molden, who also served in the military. She says it's what her father deserved.
He is eligible for a last post headstone and all the rights of being buried in a military field of honor.
Greenacre Cemetery, where her father was buried, was founded in the 1950s, and the original owners have since passed away. It was bought by Service Corporation International in the 2000s. In a statement to CBC, SCI says in part, "At the time of the original burial in the early 1970s, Service Corporation International did not own the property. Given the age of the burial, the historical records that have been passed down to us may be incomplete or inaccurate."
They're now trying to say, well, the records are old and we didn't own the cemetery then. Well, you know what, you merged with two companies, so you took responsibility for the records maybe being incorrect, maybe not.
The RCMP was called because the empty grave is considered a missing person. RCMP say they've used ground penetrating radar multiple times to see if any remains were in the area, but they haven't found anything. It says they'll continue to work closely with the cemetery and Elizabeth. Elizabeth says she hasn't heard from the cemetery since June 9th. Now lawyers are involved. She's working with Last Post, a veteran charity, to get her dad a military headstone, but the empty grave changes that.
They don't leave any soldier without a headstone because he was part of the Commonwealth. He's entitled to that, but without remains, he's not.
Elizabeth says Last Post is still working with her on a memorial. She believes the company who owns the cemetery now should review its records so no one else is left searching for their loved one. Mike Arsenault, CBC News, Winnipeg.
He was a complete stranger killed senselessly. Corey Roulette was beaten and shot in his Furby Street home in 2023. Now prosecutors want to see all three people involved in his murder put in prison. CBC's Caitlin Gowerluck was in court for sentencing.
Corey Roulette's sisters wept in a Winnipeg courtroom Tuesday as prosecutors described how the women were shattered by their younger brother's death. The 38-year-old was beaten and shot by a group of three strangers in his Winnipeg home in August 2023. His sister Vanessa says Corey was her baby brother, always joking around and always there when you needed him.
Corey had that shoulder you could lean on. You didn't even have to be a sibling. You could have just been his friend and someone off the street.
Court heard the confrontation was sparked by an argument with an 11-year-old boy on Roulette's balcony. The boy threatened to shoot Ramona Harper, who left and came back with their brother and cousin, Raul and Kyle Harper. The group forced their way into Roulette's suite and killed him. Kyle Harper pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, which means he'll get an automatic life sentence. Lawyers agreed he should have to wait 12 years before he can apply for parole. Prosecutors want 8 years for Ramona and Raul Harper, who pleaded guilty to manslaughter. Their lawyers asked for slightly lower sentences. Meanwhile, Corey's sister says she doesn't wish ill on the three who killed her brother.
They're going to get judged from the guy upstairs, not from me, not from my family. You know, it's Creator has a journey for each of us.
She says she knows Corey would have wanted them to move on with loving hearts, not hate. The judge reserved her decision. Caitlin Gowerluck, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Well, residents of Tatasqueyak Cree Nation are still out of their community because of the wildfires. There is some good news. Its water treatment plant is once again working. Tatasqueyak, which is also known as Split Lake, first declared a state of emergency at the end of May due to the fires, which destroyed several homes. Well, an evacuation order was lifted on June 17th. People were unable to return home because the water treatment plant failed. It's now fixed, but the chief says lines still need to be flushed and water quality tests need to be done. Well, one evacuee says she and others are anxious to get home. She says there are a lot of factors at play when it comes to their safety.
They need to have people in the nursing station, people working in the store at the northern store. Like, we need to have those supply routes open. We need to know that they're done with the backburns.
The fire near Tatasqueyak remains out of control. A mandatory evacuation order remains in place for the community. Winnipeg police say they seized 2 homemade stun guns during an arrest Monday night. These are shots of the 2 fully operational homemade tasers police took off a 41-year-old man. Officers stopped him in North Point Douglas around 9 p.m. They say he was riding his bike contrary to Highway Traffic Act regulations, and it turns out he was also wanted on a warrant and then placed under arrest. Winnipeggers are raising concerns about tall grass and weeds on properties where no one lives. It comes on the heels of homeowners getting warned about their lawns and in some cases being charged by the city to cut it. As CBC's Zubina Ahmed reports, some want the city to do more about vegetation in empty lots.
James Bothwell lives next to this vacant lot in Winnipeg's West End. He's wondering why the tall grass and weeds in the neighboring vacant lot has not been cut.
My window overlooks it, and I never look out my window, so.
He worries the tall grass poses safety concerns, and he says it doesn't look nice.
Well, to be honest, I've seen it worse than this.
This comes on the heels of other homeowners raising concerns about being warned about not cutting their grass. In June, an East Elmwood resident complained about receiving a non-compliance notice from the city after already cutting his grass. City crews showed up and cut it for him. He expects he'll get a bill from the city to cover its labor costs. Public Works Committee Chairperson Janice Luke says a city bylaw requires property owners to cut their grass and control weeds.
I believe there's been 4,000 calls this year on people with issues about other people not managing their vegetation.
The city tells CBC vacant lots and properties are enforced to the same standards as occupied territories. Luke says bylaw officers give property owners up to 10 days after a warning to cut their grass or face a charge. If the city has to cut it, the expense is added to the homeowner's property tax bill.
Many people don't know the bylaws. They're not familiar with the bylaws. They've never owned a house before. Maybe they're new to Canada. Maybe they've lived here forever and they just don't want to adhere to the bylaws.
Bothwell says the city cut the grass twice last year, but this year they haven't. According to the city, 2 complaints have been received about the property so far this year, and one's compliance order has been issued.
It's just a problem.
The owner of vacant property next to Bothwell's place says he's not in Canada. He told us when he's back, he'll cut it or get someone else to do it. Zubina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A note to drivers heading to the south end of Winnipeg. The city will be closing a major intersection for roadwork for a number of nights. Now, the city says overnight closures at Abenogi-Mikara and St. Mary's Road will get underway tonight. They've already started. That was at 6 o'clock. It's to allow for overnight paving operations. Closures will be in effect each evening until 6 the next morning. Expect major delays and avoid the area if possible. There are more closures expected throughout the weekend until crews wrap up Tuesday morning. For all the details, head to the city's website. Let's bring in Riley Lachuk now. And Riley, it was another humid, muggy day out there today.
And a wet start to the day, Brittany. However, we've started to see some clearing out of some of this cloud cover as we've gotten into the late afternoon. So here's some of that rain that fell in southeastern Manitoba in the city earlier in the day today. If I widen the map out a bit and we go earlier in the day yet, you can see this line of thunderstorms that dodged us moving into northwestern Ontario, feeling the risk of flash flooding in some places even. So we missed a good soaking rain with some thunderstorms, but for parts of northwestern Ontario into eastern Manitoba, we'll certainly take what we can get. 23 degrees in Winnipeg. That was our high at midnight. We've been hovering around 22 through the afternoon today. We'll try for 24 tomorrow afternoon. Smokier one, a shift in winds to a more northeasterly flow will push a bit more smoke, and in some cases a lot more smoke into southern Manitoba from those wildfires. We'll talk about the air quality and some more rain when I come back.
All right. Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, we live in one of the country's most tornado-prone provinces. But what do you do if one is at risk of touching down nearby? Well, more on what you need to know straight ahead. Hundreds of doctors across the province have added a new tool to their belts. They're now using AI to help take notes. The program listens in to appointments in real time and provides a transcription for the doctor to review, edit, and sign off on. The president of Doctors Manitoba has been using it in her clinic and says she's noticed a difference.
I can be more present with the patient. I can run more on time in my clinic. I can fit more things in, and I can get home at a reasonable hour. And so I find that it must be saving me time because I'm able to make my days fuller without, not getting home on time for supper.
She says 400 AI Scribe program licenses were designated for Manitoba by the federally funded not-for-profit Canada Health Infoway. The AI Scribes are not involved in any diagnosing or treatment decisions. Well, every year, thousands of Manitoba vehicles are reported stolen, and it's costing ratepayers millions of dollars. July is Vehicle Theft Prevention Month, and Manitoba Public Insurance is reminding drivers to reduce the risk of having their car stolen. MPI insures more than 950,000 vehicles in the province, and on average, 4,000 are reported as stolen to MPI every year. MPI says it equates to roughly $40 million a year being paid in damage and replacement costs. It says people should not leave their car running unattended. They should park in well-lit areas and make sure that any valuables or packages are in the trunk and not visible. Drivers in some parts of the city will soon notice new temporary concrete curbs meant to slow speeding drivers down. The traffic calming curbs will be installed at 13 sites throughout Winnipeg. They're yellow concrete, roughly 2.5 meters long and weigh around 2,000 pounds. They'll be targeted near schools and dense residential areas that are known for speeding issues, intersections with wide corners, and crosswalks with poor visibility. The city says the installations are a quick and cost-effective way of temporarily changing roadway layouts to reduce safety risks until permanent measures can be made. The first curbs will be installed this week on Chancellor Drive. Prime Minister Mark Carney has met with the premiers at a summit in Ontario's cottage country. Donald Trump's trade war with Canada and nation building were at the top of the agenda. Carney spoke to media after the meeting.
This is about building this country. We're getting more and more concrete about how we're going to do that, and it's about building other relationships. At the same time, if at all possible, we would be developing our relationships, coming to a good accord with the United States. But the importance is to build up.
Ottawa is trying to secure a trade deal before Washington's deadline of August 1st. Trump is threatening to impose 35% tariffs on imports from Canada if a deal isn't reached by then. Music legend Ozzy Osbourne has died. The British musician rose to prominence in the late 1960s as the frontman for the heavy metal band Black Sabbath. The band produced many hits, including War Pigs and Paranoid. He was known as the Prince of Darkness. Osbourne once bit the head off a bat on stage, mistaking it for a rubber toy. He launched a successful solo career in 1980, topping the charts with the song Crazy Train. He and family members became reality TV stars after launching the Osbournes in 2002. Osbourne had Parkinson's and recently performed at a massive concert in his hometown, Birmingham. Ozzy Osbourne was 76 years old. Riley, back in now, and it was not too long after this point yesterday where we started seeing those tornado warnings and alerts going off, really causing some concern for some people.
Yeah, we'll have more to say on that coming up. No risk of any real severe weather as we head into at least the next couple of days, Brittany, but once we get toward the weekend again, we do have that risk of thunderstorms returning thanks to some hot and humid air moving into the province. Starting with look at our upper level winds, you can start to see That ridge starting to form in the jet stream here, that's thanks to high pressure that has formed south of the border here, and that started to create this ridge up here, well up into parts of northern Manitoba and into northwestern Ontario, and that's what's going to help bring in some of those hot, humid conditions as we get toward the end of the week. A bit of extra lift in here, maybe giving a few extra showers as we get through the evening tonight for places like Westman as well. But behind this, a shift in winds closer to the surface to more of a northerly flow will help to push some of the smoke from those wildfires burning in northern Manitoba and northwestern Ontario back down into southern Manitoba. And you can see where we've seen some of those air quality warnings expanded southward already. That will continue to expand, I think, as we get into the day on Wednesday. But you can see a couple residual showers out of some of this cloud cover. And really, anytime you see some of this cloud cover through the overnight hours, there is that risk that we do see a couple of stray showers or some periods of light rain out of some of this. I don't think any of that makes it into the Red River Valley, but can't rule out a stray shower or two as we get into the early part of Wednesday. As we get through Wednesday, some clearing happens, then we're back into some sunshine again by the time we get into Thursday, thanks to high pressure closer to the surface. And that will fuel some of that warm and humid air moving into the province as we get toward Friday. So I mentioned the shift in winds. That has already started to happen in the Red River Valley. Even by the time we get into the morning hours tomorrow, winds out of the north, 15 gusting to 30, even could see some gusty winds out there as we get through the day. But then we get into this more northerly flow even as we head into Thursday. That will help push some of this smoke and haze out of northern Manitoba down into the south again. So it's when you see some of these neon greens, the oranges and the pinks, where we're looking at that air quality health index up around that 8, 9, even 10 plus, I think, possible as we get into Wednesday and Thursday. Once we get into a more southerly flow with some of that hot and humid air as we head into the day on Friday, do we start to get a break from it, but the reprieve being some hot and humid conditions into the weekend, feeling a risk of thunderstorms. So temperatures in the south tomorrow closer to 24 or 25. That's what we hold for the next couple of days. Then we're into 29 degrees for Friday, hot and humid, and it gets warmer than that for the weekend as well.
Okay, so we mentioned those alerts that many experienced yesterday evening, warning you to take cover because of a potential tornado.
Yeah, fortunately that alert did not come with a dangerous twister in Manitoba, but what do you need to know if that does happen? Have a look at this.
Tornadoes have a habit of touching down in Manitoba, especially in the spring and summer months. Their impact can be disastrous.
But there are things you can do to stay safe. Number one, pay attention to any weather watches and warnings.
An average of 8 to 14 tornadoes touch down in Manitoba per season, making it one of the most tornado-prone provinces. So when a tornado warning is issued, take it seriously.
Number two, know where to go if you're in a building, say your workplace or you're at home. The safest place? Here in the basement. It might not be the coziest space, but basements are typically the lowest level in the building you're in, which is the safest place for you to be. And if you don't have a basement, an indoor room like the storage room or your bathroom or a closet will do, as long as it doesn't have windows or outside walls. But what if you see a tornado heading your way and you're here driving in your car? It might sound counterintuitive, but get out of the car and find a ditch if you can. If you're not near a ditch, try to find the lowest lying area in sight, get as close to the ground as possible, and cover your head. Now, a severe storm can be scary, but the more you know about where to go when a tornado touches down, the safer you'll be. Riley Lechuk, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A trio of Transcona kids are cashing in this summer season. How the siblings are hoping a little bit of nostalgia will help their business. Stay with us.
All right, time for your dog walking forecast. And if I didn't work tomorrow, this is what I'd be doing, lounging, although I'm maybe a bit smoky tomorrow, probably a bit smoky where you will be. Keep that in mind. Air quality health index readings likely to be elevated tomorrow. So 17 first thing in the morning, 24 by the afternoon, and that's about as good as we do is the mid-20s throughout the day. On Wednesday, similar for Thursday at 25 degrees, closer to 30 for Friday, but look at what happens into the weekend here. 31, good chance we'll see some thunderstorms through Saturday and Sunday across southern Manitoba, and the humidex readings close to 40 there on Saturday. Well, do you remember asking your parents for money when you heard the ice cream truck coming down the street? Well, back on the farm, it came down the driveway and I was asking for chicken nuggets. Here's a bit of nostalgia for you.
A trio of siblings in Transcona have started the Tip Top Popsicle Shop. Have a look.
My name is Hannah Zingrad.
And how old are you?
I'm 11 years old, turning 12. This is our second summer. It all started off when we saw a video of a Dickie D bike. And we decided, well, this looks fun. We bought the freezer and a trailer, and we started putting it together. Our mom bought the popsicles, we paid off our IOU.
What flavor of Crush would you like? My name is Micah, I'm 13 years old.
What are people buying?
Well, people are always buying these firecrackers because A, it brings nostalgia, and B, it's just one of the most cheapest, best flavors.
My name is Malachi. I am 14 years old. I drive the bike and I take care of the money from the people.
Okay, tell me about the punch card.
These are buy 10, get 1 free freezy for free. Duh.
Is there anything else that you're doing with the money?
We're supporting big families by giving them some portions of money to help them out with food or new vehicle or stuff to help them out in life. But there's more than just money. There's skills. There's growth in friendship and relationship.
Could you sing the jingle for us?
All right.
Oh, you got the hat on now.
Yeah.
Okay, sing the jingle.
Dip top popsicle shop. Dip top popsicle shop. Dip top popsicle shop. I said dip top popsicle shop.
I love it. Give me 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Great little young entrepreneurs, and I bet you they're going to be busy over the coming days.
I have a feeling they're going to be busy for the weekend with those hot and humid temperatures.
All right, Transcona, go get your popsicles.
Yeah, exactly.
Have a wonderful night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
I like that they've made their own little punch cards.